Welcome back. So I'm still reading the national bestseller Salvation, Black People in Love by the author Bell Hooks. I'm in chapter 5, Moving Beyond Shame, jumping back in. The heart of self-love is healthy self-esteem. In his insightful book, 6 Pillars of Self-Esteem, Nathaniel Braden defines these pillars as the practice of living consciously, 1. The practice of living consciously, 2. The practice of self-acceptance, 3. Self-responsibility, 4. Of self-assertiveness, 5. Living purposefully, 6. Personal integrity. Among these practices, personal integrity is one of the hardest since it requires commitment to truth-telling. Masking has been so central to Black folks' survival within white supremacist culture that we've not always recognized the way it harms self-esteem. Basically, masking invites us to create a false self, to misrepresent and dissimulate, that is, to take on whatever appearances are needed for a given situation. So some people will call this code switching, whatever, a survival technique. While masking was sometimes crucial to survival during the period of racial apartheid, these strategies destroy our capacity to be truth tellers when we adopt them in contemporary life. This cannot be stated often enough. Some patriarchal masculinity also encourages men to mask what they feel as a way of manipulating others. Black males are especially at risk. They may be rewarded for being estranged from their feelings. Creating and maintaining personal integrity is especially hard in a culture of domination where lying is rewarded. Generally in our nation, citizens are lying more and more. When high-ranking political leaders lie 20-25 and are rewarded, it sends the message to all citizens that lying is the way to get ahead. Often Black folks striving to succeed may feel bombarded and conflicted when expectations from Black peers and family differ from those of the predominantly white world they work in. These individuals may construct a false self to get ahead in both these worlds. This produces inner conflict, which undermines self-esteem. Importantly, the time has come for Black people to courageously claim our right to personal integrity and refuse to don a false self for anyone. In the long run, individuals who self-betray by always masking and pretending suffer. Their mental and physical health is wrecked in the process. Shirley Chisholm remains one of the greatest Black political leaders who always stood her ground when it came to the issue of personal integrity. That is why she titled her autobiography Unbalked and Unbossed. Politically, Dr. Jocelyn Elders had to cope with rejection for taking a courageous stand about sexuality. Yet she has become a heroic example of personal integrity in a nation where individuals are willing to betray their beliefs to get ahead. My mother's mother, that's her grandmother, Sarah Oldman, could not read or write, yet she taught us all that we should be truth tellers, understanding that, quote, our word is our bond, end quote. A hardworking woman, she would be seen by many as poor or indigent because she had no income beyond that received working on the land, yet she was rich in spirit. She and our grandfather, Daddy Gus, her husband of more than 70 years, taught us the importance of living consciously, taking responsibility, and maintaining personal integrity. I emphasize this to state again that those who lack material privilege have as much access to spiritual and moral riches as anyone else. Currently, the poor are usually represented in mainstream culture as lacking in moral values, so we cannot state often enough that poverty is no indication of moral beliefs. Stigmatizing the poor in this way is one of the ways the collective self-esteem of poor people is continually assaulted in this society. Since masses of black people are among the poor, our collective self-esteem is at risk whenever anyone tries to publicly insist that the poor are inherently inclined toward dishonesty and fraudulent behavior. Widespread addiction in our society manifests itself in the worst ways in poor communities because those who lack funds usually exploit others to pay for their substance abuse. Therapeutic work shows clearly that all substance abusers, irrespective of their class background, are likely to be dishonest. Addiction leads to lying. All addicts suffer a loss of self-esteem. Importantly, addiction must be effectively addressed in the black communities to make way for a return to love. Self-love is first expressed by the way we tend to our bodies. We must work hard to love our black bodies in a white supremacist patriarchal culture. Loving our bodies does not mean simply liking the way we look. It does not just mean that, but it also means that. It means that we care for the well-being of those bodies by eating properly, exercising, and staying away from all addictions, including food. No mass media event has dramatized the extent to which food occupies a place of solace in black life, as well as in the recent movie Soul Food. Not only is the family matriarch suffering from diabetes, a disease no one need to die from, she neglects her health caring for others. The movie shows this without making any meaningful critique. After her death, the survivors do not change their diets, even though we saw the health problems and tragic consequences of bad diet. So here I'm going to pause and talk about food and how we talk to people about it. Food is a part of culture and it's linked to emotions. She'll go on further to say that. But also we must move beyond looking at things only on an individual level and go up to the systems level, such as in the meso levels in some communities, especially black and brown communities, we have poor access to food. So that's called food deserts. And when there's poor access to food, I've noticed that in the black communities, the groceries are more expensive than if you go to a white neighborhood where people have more money. Strange, right? It has to do with a lot of things because some of the grocers in the in the more wealthy neighborhoods, they can drive prices down. I'm not going to go into economics, but yeah, there are many factors that we must consider. And then on the higher level of what is the government doing to perpetuate these kinds of eating cultures by infusing all our food with toxic chemicals? Continuing. In Feeding the Hungry Heart, Gina Roth offers one of the most insightful accounts of the way we turn to food for solace, to give us the comfort we may lack in our emotional relationships. Much of the work on eating disorder in our culture focuses solely on the predicament of white females, so there's little published research on African Americans and compulsive eating. So I am always for doing more research that are relevant and address people's problems, so I'm down with her on that. Many life-threatening ailments and diseases that afflict black people disproportionately to our numbers, diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease, and kidney failure, to name just a few, can be avoided with sound preventative health care. This includes a healthy diet. Every African American can express self-esteem first and foremost by caring for his or her body. And mental health is as crucial as physical well-being. Indeed, they are interrelated. no problems here. Again and again, I find black folks reluctant to seek mental health care when they face emotional problems. Therapy is one available approach to healing. More and more individual black people are seeking help for emotional pain with professionals. This is a gesture of healthy self-esteem. Historically, therapy has been viewed suspiciously by black folks, seeing therapy as suspect and rooted in the concrete reality that many mental health care practitioners held racist biases, especially white therapists. As greater racial awareness has entered therapeutic professions, more black folks choose therapy. We're progressing, but we haven't reached where we need to go because such is life from a person who works as a mental health professional. It's difficult. We're underrepresented in the field, and still diagnoses are biased. Like, we see research saying that black people are more likely to be diagnosed with psychosis and not mood disorders like anxiety and depression. Those are mostly white people are diagnosed like that. It's important being diagnosed with psychosis because people, when they think of crazy people, they more think of people with psychosis. And I'm not here saying that they're crazy. I'm just saying what the general public thinks. And a lot of things that we think are crazy when black people do it, when we're looking with the white gaze, are actual survival things. You remember, if you watched the video about drapetomania, running away was seen as crazy when it's a total healthy reaction, because if you love yourself, you will not allow people to enslave you, right? So running away was totally great. Continuing, emotional healing is a process that can take place in any setting where we're genuinely cared for, where problems and difficulties can be talked about and solution found. Folks without access to therapy can look to supportive friends, family members, and co-workers for help. When extreme racism could have made life unbearable for black folks, communities sustained themselves through a process like consciousness raising, talking together with one another about the impact of racism. Black people created a shared community of concern and support. Everyone could be stronger in the face of adversity, knowing that they were not alone. When individuals experience trauma from racist assault, they had support. Increasingly, individual black people feel they must confront the pain of racism alone. So, when we're having these exodus from spaces that we used to talk about, things like churches and religious organization, and I think people are seeking communities in places like the internet, spaces like this and others that have lots of people talking to each other. And this is great, reaching people all over the world and all over America, but also meeting together. There's something just so beautiful of seeing our humanity together face to face. Continuing, sadly, some black people have been made to feel ashamed of experiencing emotional pain in response to racial assault by a culture that increasingly suggests anyone who names their suffering is trying to use victim status to get over. So I'd like to inform her that we've moved away from that, where people are calling you, using your race card. Now they're saying anytime you point out racism, you are the racist, not the people and the systems that are racialized and oppressive. No, you are oppressive by pointing it out. So some people think this channel is oppressive because I read from history, many of it documented by white people, but just by pointing it out, I am a bad person. But fortunately, I know better, that doing wrong is bad and not talking about wrong that has been done. Moving on. When black people and other non-white groups are told repeatedly that the problems they experience are their own fault, this delegitimation not only censors and silences, it promotes insanity. Sane people with healthy self-esteem respond to oppression and exploitation by both acknowledging their pain and resisting. Let me read it again. Sane people with healthy self-esteem respond to oppression and exploitation by both acknowledging their pain and resisting. Although needed now, in the future it will be all the more necessary for Black people and their allies in the struggle to create context for mental care that validates all the ways racist assault is traumatic, while simultaneously creating programs for recovery. So it's twofold. It's acknowledging the truth, what goes on, these oppressive systems, and recovering. This is why this channel is thriving while Black. We don't want to just wallow in what went wrong. We want to rise up like Black phoenixes out from the ashes of oppression. Continuing before I get teary-eyed, there should be an entire body of work, both serious scholarship and popular material, focusing on Black self-love. The absence of this literature is just another example of the way in which psychological trauma in the form of assaults on the self-esteem and souls of Black folks is not taken seriously in our society. There should be books that do nothing but accentuate the positive, sharing theories and strategies of decolonization that enable self-love. Initially, when I began to seriously explore written material about the primacy of a love ethic in African American life, I was astonished that there was so little information. We need more. It is as simple as that. Without an organized, mass-based, progressive, anti-racist political movement, which we also need, it is all the more crucial that our homes become sites of resistance, where we create the oppositional spaces where we can be self-loving. These are the spaces where we have power. We can make home place the site where love, that is the foundation of all healthy self-esteem, exists. Yeah, that's the mic drop. Excellent work by Bell Hooks. Tell me what you think about the material. Thanks so much for listening.